Welcome back. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Joe.
And thank you. Hello and welcome to this third episode of the Brave Stories podcast, brought to you by Brave and Lucky.
Janelle and Joe.
Janelle and Joe, how are you tonight, Janelle?
I'm well, thank you. It's a Friday evening. It's been a busy week, but I'm good. I'm excited because tomorrow we actually go to visit our best friends. We're surprising my best friend for her 30th birthday, and we can say that because this will be released after the surprise.
Oh, shoot, yeah. You're getting quite contextual in terms of time and space right now.
Oh, but the people may not know.
But people may not know that.
The anniversary. That was a French thing. I said the anniversary of my friend.
The birthday of my friend. Anniversaire. Okay, Janelle. So today on the podcast we are going to be we're starting off actually with the first of our 5 values.
It's kind of like a little mini series.
It's a little mini series. We're covering 5 values to essentially tease out what bravery is all about, right?
Yes, exactly.
And these 5 values, they are central to what we're trying to do at Brave and Lucky. If you don't know what Brave and Lucky is, this podcast is powered by Brave and Lucky. It's essentially underwear for the biggest days of your life. It's our undies business that we're bravely trying to build, right, Janelle?
Exactly. We are very bravely trying to do that while also having twins this year. That's our brave.
Shoot. Amazing. And that makes me think, Janelle, we should let the people know that today on the podcast we're bringing in something new. It's segments. Okay?
Yes.
Woo!
Woohoo!
So we're going to have... What are we going to have?
Well, we have a couple of segments.
Yeah.
Segments.
Recurring segments.
Segments.
Recurring segments on the podcast that you can always look forward to, that we're going to want to get your input on.
Yes, we would love to hear from you to add to these. The first one is Bravery in the News.
Bravery in the News. We're going to have cool jingles. You're going to want to stick around for the jingles.
Yeah.
Bravery in the News is coming very soon in this episode. And then at the very end, you've got to stick around for the very, very end, because we're going to be premiering a second segment called...
Brave or Stupid.
Brave or Stupid. Essentially, we're going to cover different things. We're going to ask you to send in your ideas too. And we will be the arbiters. Well, we'll just share our thoughts on whether that thing is brave or stupid. Because as we all know, sometimes there's a fine line between bravery and stupidity.
Yes.
So anyway, that is some info on the segments. But today, Janelle, what is the first value that we're going to be covering, the first value to sort of explain how we see bravery today?
Today we're going to talk about number 1, courage in community.
Courage in community. Let's repeat that all together.
Courage in community.
That's beautiful.
That is beautiful. Well, what is this? We're going to talk more about that. We're going to get a bit more in depth into why... what is community? Why do we need community? How does it relate to courage?
Love it. So good.
Let's do this.
Let's do this. But first, our first segment, like we just mentioned.
Yes, let's start with the segment.
Let's start with the segment. Which one is it? It's Bravery in the News. Be a little jingle there. Okay, in this first segment, Bravery in the News, we essentially will be covering different people in the news, topical, contextual people, everyday people who are being brave in whatever sphere they are in life. And I spend a lot of time, Janelle, on LinkedIn because I'm a corporate person. And so I spend a lot of my day on LinkedIn. You can follow me there too if you like. And basically, quality marketing content delivered daily.
Wow.
I post daily. But anyway, the other day I saw someone post something that was so cool. And funnily enough, I've screenshotted this. Maybe we'll be able to show the people the screenshot on the video if you're watching on YouTube. And I've screenshotted it in a way, look at that, Janelle, that I can't see their name anymore.
Oh no.
And so it's kind of lost forever, but it's still awesome what they said. I'm not sure what this person's name is.
Oh dear, so we can't reference this person.
We can't reference this person, but what they're saying is awesome. And maybe if you're listening and this is your post,
Tell
us, because we want to get to know you, because you embody the spirit of bravery. Okay? So, this is what they said, okay? And this is Bravery in the News for this week. Essentially, this is their post. The lesson is simple. Face your fears. And this is their voice, okay? I have always had a very real fear of flying, so much so that I signed up for a class on how to get over it, but always missed the class because I was always flying. The teacher would say, I don't know if I should be mad at you or proud of you. I was in the class with many people who had never been on a plane before, and at the same time, I was a Delta Airlines Gold Medallion member. That's
Wow.
inspirational. People were so confused, and that's how I've lived most of my life. Scared, shitless, with a little star, but do it anyway. Life is not about the absence of fear, it's about how big and bold you live despite it. Don't let fear win. Life is too short. If we're lucky, we're only here for 100 years anyway, so live large, be bold, get on the plane, ask for the order, follow your passion, pursue your dreams, speak up, embarrass yourself, and get a great story in return. How are you facing your fears? Fist bump emoji, hashtag fears, hashtag travel, hashtag inspiration.
That was hashtag inspiration.
That was. So whoever you are, I'm so sorry. I just have no way. I don't think I have any way of finding out who that is now. But you are amazing, and that is Bravery in the News for this week.
Amazing. The voice of Brave and Lucky for today. Beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah.
I just love so many things about it. Be scared and do it anyway.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, I think we can move on, Janelle.
Yeah.
First question will be for you, coming back onto this value around courage and community. Let's start very broad. What is community? We talk about it all the time. It's a series on Netflix that we've been watching a little bit. But what is it really?
We've been watching a series about
A
this?
series called Community.
Oh,
People
we have.
might know that.
Yes, we have been.
Anyways.
I just had this thought as you were talking to me of something we should have looked at, which is the root word of community, because I feel like it's commune.
Commune. Communal.
Communal.
Common.
People, and I mean that's great. That is kind of what community is. It's people that you have something in common with. So whether that be a sports group, a club, a church, your school, your place of study, those are all different communities that you're a part of, where you have a similar lifestyle, a similar belief.
And we haven't sort of found a definition of what community is, but we're sort of speaking from the heart here. Basically, it's the people that you are regularly in their lives, they're in your life, day in, day out type thing. A lot of times, though, like you're saying, Janelle, it ties to kind of interests or lifestyle or beliefs that you hold in common with these people, right?
Yes. And often you might have one very strong community, which would be where you'd find your closest friends probably from that particular community, but you could be part of a few different communities as well, and that's beautiful.
So good. Community. So I think we've painted a picture of what community is, Janelle. Okay. So now, what should we do?
Well, I think the thing is we kind of need to talk about why community. Why do we need community? And yeah, is it actually necessary for courage? So if we look at today's society, we could argue that people are lonelier, more lonely than ever.
Yeah. So it's important, let's set the scene a little bit in terms of what is community like today, especially I guess in the Western world where we are right now. What is community looking like, Janelle?
Yeah, so a study was done in 2019. So that's a study. Hello. So that's a couple of years ago now, but still, I think it's pretty spot on. And I mean, the stats could have even changed and got worse since the COVID pandemic as well. So this was actually pre-COVID that this stat came out, explaining about millennials. So millennial generation, they're aged from 23 to 38, in case you didn't realize that. And so in that age bracket, that's when they're kind of those primary years where people's careers start to take off. It's often when you might meet someone, get married, start a family. Kind of all of those big relational things happen within that year.
Millennials,
So you'd assume that millennials are very social, considering that a lot of our greatest relationships typically happen between 23 to 38 years old.
Yes, and that's kind of the ages of millennials right now, right? Is that life stage.
Oh yes, exactly. Let's clarify that. It's not that millennials will always be 23 to 38. That's what millennials are right now. Thank you for clarifying that. It was a little confusing how I said it. So anyway, a recent poll was done which interviewed millennials right now. And it came back saying that actually 22% of millennials say that they have 0 friends.
That is crazy.
Really crazy. That's a high percentage. And that was, I mean, I don't have all the stats for outside, that's 78%, how many friends they have, but 22% said that they have 0 friends. Not even like 0 close friends. It also said that 30% of the millennials said that they felt lonely.
So this is a poll from YouGov. So I think it's in the US.
US, yes.
Yeah. Crazy. So that just paints you a picture of how communities potentially are sort of eroded in the way we live today. Another thing I wanted to bring up, Janelle, is the fact that like the percentage of people living alone has been skyrocketing, right? So I found this thing, it's right here on my phone. Historical records show that the rise of living alone started in early industrialized countries over a century ago. So it's been a trend for a long time, but accelerated around 1950. And now they're saying in countries such as Norway and Sweden, single-person households were rare a century ago, but today they account for nearly half of all households. So countries like Norway and Sweden, half of all households are one person.
That's crazy.
Crazy. And you think about the change since, a few decades ago, where, families or people getting married younger or whatever, people having more kids, I don't know. It's crazy. Community is changing.
It is changing, and it's creating a lot of loneliness. And I mean, it's kind of obvious that loneliness is not a good thing. No one wants to be lonely, but actually loneliness, it goes outside of just emotional sadness, which is a very real pain and problem, but it actually has health risks as well, being lonely. So I mean, we're just quoting all of the we're bringing out all the stats today for you, but a doctor in the States, his name's Dr. Vivek Murthy, he wrote that loneliness and weak social connections are associated with the reduction in lifespan that's similar to that caused by smoking 15 cigarettes per day. So we all know that smoking 15 cigarettes a day is not good for your health and will shorten your lifespan.
Yeah.
However, this general surgeon in the States is saying actually loneliness is the same. It has the same health impacts as smoking.
Wow. Intense. And probably just the final one there, Janelle, is like one interesting stat. I might skip that one though. Or do you want to talk about that one?
Oh, no, you can skip that one.
Okay, one interesting stat is that 1/3 of Americans have never interacted with their next door neighbour.
Wow, 1/3. Which, I mean, that goes back to what you were talking about before in apartments and that, or in housing, that a lot of people live by themselves nowadays, which has changed in the last century. That would be another thing, is that not knowing your neighbour.
Yeah, you think about, going back a few years, communities could spring up around people you lived around, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just think of even like my grandparents in that generation, it was so common, like you're baking a cake and you're missing one egg, you'd like go to your neighbour's house and be like, hey, do you have an egg I can borrow? So I can finish my cake. Like that was a normal thing to do. I mean, even for my mum, it was the same thing. Whereas now, if you don't even know your neighbour, you're not getting that egg.
Yeah, you're not getting that egg. What are you going to do? You're going to have to...
Go to the supermarket. No, I know what you do. You'll gorillas it, exactly. You'll deliver it to your house.
Not sure if you guys have gorillas, but it's like
maybe Amazon delivers.
Yeah. So we wanted to reach out to you, listening or watching. Do you know your next door neighbour? Let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Maybe
reach out to us on Instagram.
Send us an Insta if you're listening on the podcast. You're going to be able to find our Insta handle in the show notes. But what is it again?
braveandlucky.life.
braveandlucky.life. Okay. So we want to hear from you. Do you know your next door neighbour? We'd love to know.
Yeah, do you know your next door neighbour, Joe?
Janelle, I know my upstairs neighbour. We've been over to his place.
He's been to our place.
He's been to our place. The other next door, no.
We don't know all of them. To be honest, it has been quite hard since we moved to Paris to meet our neighbours. However, in our previous apartment, we knew our neighbours very well. My neighbour, I mean, because why do you know your neighbour? Why not? We actually have a great story about our neighbour. Well, great slash...
Do we?
I mean, we have a few stories about neighbours. We have a lot of stories about neighbours, actually. But in our old apartment, our lovely neighbour, we got to know her. She was an elderly lady, and when we went back to New Zealand for a month, she watered our plants for us. And we got stuck in New Zealand because of the COVID pandemic, and she just kept watering them for us. And
that was so kind of her.
That was very kind.
That was a picture of community.
That was a beautiful picture.
Who would have watered our plants?
Exactly. Who would have? And particularly in the pandemic, when everyone was stuck in their house, no one else could have come.
Those plants would have died.
They would have been very dead. And as you can probably see in the video, or if you're listening and you don't know,
this one was there, wasn't it? This one was part of that.
All of these plants here.
This plant right here wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for community. But let's move along, Janelle, okay? Let's move along to this. It's really the clincher here right now, okay, is that community is not just about being around other people, you know? Because a lot of us live in big cities. We live in Paris. You may live in a big city. There's people everywhere all the time. For sure. And yet, we have that stat around millennials being lonely, etc. It's not just about being around people, it's about forming, real meaningful connections and a sense of belonging, right? Belonging is a key word.
Yeah, definitely. And so we have a quote, but I think it's really good, and it's by someone called Jeanne Stewart. Janine.
Sorry, Janine.
Sorry, Janine. To all our podcast listeners, I'm going to give you a little heads up as we start this podcast. I am terrible at pronunciation, so this will happen many times.
Janine. She is a senior consultant.
I can read, I promise.
Oh, you can read.
In a neuro leadership institute. Okay, anyway, this is what she said.
You said that really fast.
I can read fast.
Oh,
Thank you.
So what did she say?
She said this. Being surrounded by other human beings doesn't guarantee a sense of belonging. Belonging actually has to do with identification as a member of a group and the higher quality interactions which come from that. It's the interactions over time which are supportive of us as full, authentic human beings.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So she's bringing that word belonging through a lot. Being surrounded by other human beings doesn't guarantee a sense of belonging.
Yeah, just because you're in a crowd doesn't mean that you feel like you belong. Yeah.
And so I guess, that's where belonging is a really important key word. It's like, do you belong? And if you belong in a community, what we really believe, well, that's the next step, is that being brave, being courageous will be easier.
So, I mean, I guess because we already asked people, do you know your neighbour? And if not, why don't you go knock on their door and introduce yourself? That's could be a challenge. The second challenge or question is, do you feel belonging somewhere? Do you have some community that you feel comfortable in and you feel like you do have a sense of belonging there? And if not, then maybe now's the time to start thinking about where you could find some community, right?
Love it. Challenges flowing left, right, and centre.
Oh la la.
Yeah, amazing.
Here we go.
Okay, so let's move on to the next point, Janelle, which is what does, I kind of preempted it there, but what does community have to do with courage? Okay, so we talked a lot about community so far. We talked about people being lonely, all this stuff.
We've given you all the context.
Yeah.
We've given you some challenges along with the context.
And challenges. We moved on to belonging. Being a part of community is belonging in a community. But what does that belonging bring? We would say it brings courage.
Yeah, we would.
Right? And so, really, we have another stat. We have another study here. I know what you're thinking. This is so full of referenced, backed up information, and it's amazing. Thank you for thinking that. Essentially, there's a guy called Charles Duhigg, and he's the author of Power of Habit, and he wrote this. Okay, I'm going to read it out for the people and for you, Janelle.
Yes.
For most people who overhaul their lives, there are no seminal moments or life-altering disasters. There are simply communities. Sometimes of just one other person who make change believable. Love that.
That's really beautiful.
Sometimes one other person. Communities that make change believable, right? So it's like the sense of like, you might not be able to get to the place yourself where you believe change in your life is believable, but having a community of people around you who push you or encourage you to believe that makes it believable.
Yeah, for sure. So going like right back to the beginning of the Bravery in the News example is like that guy who was scared of flying. Like,
well, I know it was a woman, but I don't know her name.
Oh, sorry, that one woman who was scared of flying. That she maybe never thought that, like, you know, someone like that, someone who's scared of flying, maybe never think that change could happen where they'd comfortably be able to get on a plane and be able to actually do it. And that's where community comes in. You have enough people around you who show you that they also get on planes and they do these things.
Yes. And there's something in that, It's like, as human beings, it can be a positive and negative thing. It's like, and this is not backed up right now, but I've read about this before, is that if you see someone else do something, you are much more comfortable doing it, right? And the negative side of that is like, say, it's like jaywalking, like crossing the road. In Paris, jaywalking is like a national sport. Everyone does it. But everyone does it because everyone does it. Yeah. You see someone do it, so you think it's okay to do it. Whereas other cities and countries, I know in Germany, we went to Germany, right, in Berlin, no one jaywalks.
That's a big no-no.
It's a big no-no.
Because you have to think about the children, the Kinder.
The Kinder. Apparently that's actually what it's about. It's like, show a good example to the children. If you're from Germany, let us know. Are we wrong? Is that correct?
We heard that on a walking tour.
We heard it on a walking tour. So anyway, it's like, you see other people do it, you feel more comfortable to do it. That's the negative side, maybe. But the positive side is, you know, maybe in this situation, you know, you're afraid of doing something. You're around enough people who are doing it, or showing you how to do it, or
just showing you examples of how they've stepped out and done something that scared them as well.
It's going to influence you in a positive way, and it's going to make you more brave. So good. So actually, that wasn't everything there, Janelle. He actually goes on, this guy Charles Duhigg, Mr. Duhigg, he says, he goes on to write about a 1994 Harvard study where participants found that being involved in a social group made change easier. So he says, one woman said her entire life shifted when she signed up for a psychology class and met a wonderful group. It opened up a Pandora's box, the woman told researchers. I could not tolerate the status quo any longer. I had changed my core.
Wow, it's a mic drop moment there.
I love that.
Beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that really hammers home our point.
It does. Beautifully.
There's not a lot more we have to say, but that's the power of community, and that's why we say courage in community. Because it does. It opens up Pandora boxes
Yeah.
of opportunities in our mind, in our courage, in our decisions.
Yeah. And you know, fundamentally, human beings were not, we're not creatures who do well alone, right?
No.
We're social creatures. And so it all makes sense. It's like,
It does.
to live our best life, we have to be in community.
We flourish
We flourish.
in community.
Love it, Janelle.
So what community, Joe, have you been a part of and have
Oh.
found courage in?
You know what, Janelle? I was just lining up to ask you that question.
Oh,
But
I
you
got in
beat me
first.
to it. I love
Speedy
that.
I am.
I love that. It's a really good question, Janelle. I think, without being too spiritual about it, I think, we go to church, and really that has been probably the big one for us, is that space of like, it's incredible in terms of like a space where people come from all different backgrounds, all different, childhoods, whatever, social statuses, and yet kind of like it's this group you see every week, and you kind of like, a support network, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But other ones, I mean,
well, and just to go back to that is when we were going through our most toughest time, which we spoke about on the previous podcast, our church community were really supportive and there for us in our worst and in our hardest moments, weren't they?
yeah, they were. Other ones, I mean, sports groups have been amazing, like friend groups.
You met one of your really good friends at a Facebook running group.
Yes, a Facebook group here in Paris where we would meet every Monday night to run. It was like 50 people.
Mm-hmm.
Met one of my best friends to this day. He's gone back to the United States of America, but great guy. Just bumped into him around a common passion. And now we get real and we're in community together.
It's great.
Even though he doesn't live here anymore.
But,
sad face emoji.
And that's where we can talk about that technology does have good benefits because we stay in touch because of technology.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, another one for me would be
What about you?
Thanks, Joe. A big place that we found community in as well has been actually at a cafe here in Paris,
Oh,
which
love
is
that.
quite funny. But I found this cafe because when I first moved to Paris, I didn't speak French, and I love a good flat white, so I went on the hunt for the best flat white in Paris.
Flat white.
Found this cafe, and one of the owners was a Kiwi like us.
Yes.
So Connection started us off, kept in contact with them, and just as the years progressed of us being in Paris, we got to know both the owners better, and then started to just meet person after person in the cafe, and now there's just, that was a beautiful example of how a couple of people created a really great community, and there's a beautiful community around that one cafe.
Totally. It's called Le Peloton.
Yes. So if you are in Paris, you should go get a coffee there.
Yeah.
And
It is. It's like no other place in Paris. It's like very, very special in that sense. It's like great coffee, obviously, but what makes it special is the community.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like you go there, you see the same people all the time coming. They don't work there, but they just hang out there.
And there's people that go every single day, and I think that really showcases the importance of community, because in Paris it's incredibly easy to go through your day and not have any meaningful conversation, or even any conversation apart from bonjour with anyone, like all day. And you pass thousands of people potentially in a day and don't talk to anyone. And so for this one cafe to create a space which not only welcomes people, but they actually talk to people and make people feel comfortable. I know that there's been a lot of people who have found courage in that community, in the hard stuff of living in Paris. It's a big expat community there.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, who are struggling with visas and living alone here in Paris, all that stuff.
It is amazing. So cool. Okay. We're going to get on to our sort of summing up phase here, but you're going to want to wait all the way to the end because, as we mentioned earlier, we are going to be doing our second segment, which is going to become a recurring segment on this podcast.
Yes, it is.
What's it called again?
Brave or Stupid.
Brave or Stupid. And we're going to bring up a new thing every week and talk about whether that is actually brave or it's just stupid.
Yeah.
But that's coming very soon. To sum up, Janelle, we have this value. We've been basing this whole episode around this value of courage and community, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the number one value at Brave and Lucky, the business we're trying to build. It's core to what we believe bravery is all about, courage and community, okay? But what does it mean to you if you want to sum it up?
I think what it means, to sum it up, is that I believe that we are meant to be social beings. We're meant to not live alone, and therefore community is the most beautiful construct that we can use to live life with other human beings, to encourage each other and to support each other, and in those meaningful relationships, that's where we find courage. And I think it's something that we should be intentional about putting effort into being in community, because even if it can be scary at the start because it can be scary to join a community at the beginning, but what we will get from it is years and years of meaningful relationships, which really that's what matters on earth.
Yeah, we'll get meaningful relationships. We'll, in a slightly selfish sense, get to go further, I think, ourselves than we ever would by ourselves. Yeah. Because as we talked about before, we're getting challenged, we're getting pushed, we're seeing other people do things that we never imagined we could do, and then, that sort of encouragement and stuff.
Or even, just on that, I just had a thought. The classic example is, we were watching bobsledding in the Winter Olympics. You can do bobsledding by yourself, or you can do it in a group of 4. What's going to go faster?
True. Very good, Janelle.
Thank you.
I was about to say, so there's that sort of like selfish. Well, it's not selfish, but it's like what it will do for me. But also, you can be a part of doing that for other people.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
That is what community is all about. It's about seeing each other succeed and go further than each of us could have ever imagined. Mm-hmm. So cool.
So good.
Love it, Janelle.
Okay. We're ready. Brave or stupid?
It's time for Brave or Stupid.
Brave or stupid.
Okay, Janelle. The first ever Brave or Stupid segment on the Brave Stories podcast is going to be quite a personal one here, Janelle.
Yeah, we thought, hey, why not? We're all about vulnerability. Why not start with one of our own things we've decided to do and say, hey, is this a brave or a stupid decision?
Yes, and you may, we're using this segment to better define what bravery is and what it isn't, okay? And so we're just exploring things. The thing we're going to bring up today is something we mentioned in episode 2 of this podcast. So if you haven't listened to episode 2, you may not know this, but Janelle is currently pregnant. Okay?
Yes, I am.
She is pregnant, not with one child, but with 2. Twins. Okay, so she's pregnant. She's just come out of her first trimester.
Yes.
So the thing today, the topic of Brave or Stupid today is continuing trying to build a business while pregnant with twins.
Brave or stupid?
Brave or stupid?
And you can even make it more in terms of actually trying to launch your business.
Launch it.
While pregnant with twins and having trying to launch a business the same year that you give birth to twins.
Yeah. Love it.
Brave or stupid?
Janelle, brave or stupid?
I was going to ask you, what do you think?
For me, it's a very fine line. I think what makes it brave for me, and it's only just in Brave, Janelle, it's only just, is the fact that there's some kind of payoff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because things that are stupid are just like, why did you do that? That's kind of stupid. That's just stupid. You should never have thought you could do that. Whereas it's like, if this goes to plan, which it might not, it will be fantastic.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think it's brave.
Yeah.
But some days I also feel like it's stupid.
Yeah, I think that this is a really great example of the finest of lines that we can find between brave and stupid.
You're the one who, like, we had a good conversation about this when we knew that you were pregnant with twins.
Yes.
And you were the one like,
yes,
no,
let's
we're doing
do this. And I mean, look, we can have all our best intentions before we actually have kids, but I think for us, the big thing is, yeah, like what I said, is like the payoff and actually looking into the future of what we want in our future and what we want for our children's lives. And so when we look at that sort of sense of actually having flexibility in my work of what I can do and stuff like that, that's where there's some payoff. And if we get this launched and started, it will. However, there will definitely be some moments where it will be very tough, and I'm sure we will think it was a stupid idea.
There you go. So that was our very first segment, Brave or Stupid.
Hope you enjoyed that.
Hope you enjoyed that. Each week we're going to be bringing back a new thing that's brave or stupid.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. If
Yes.
you have ideas, maybe it's something that you are currently doing or deciding to do, or maybe you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Same like us, we had this discussion a couple of months ago. Maybe you're having this discussion and you want to ask us,
So good.
is this a brave idea or is it stupid?
Yeah. Let us know, in the comments if you're on YouTube, at brave and lucky.life
On Instagram.
on Instagram if you're listening on the podcast. Let us know what sort of things you want us to cover in this brave or stupid segment going forward.
Mm-hmm.
We'd love to cover them.
Yes.
Okay, well that's all the time we have, Janelle, and it's
Mm-hmm.
been fantastic discussing this very first value for Brave and Lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Really more about what bravery is all about.
Yeah.
Courage and community.
Yeah.
Next time, what are we going to be talking about?
We're going to go into value number 2 next time.
And that is...
You're never really ready.
Oh, what does it mean? Nobody knows. You're going to have to come along and listen.
And find out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hey, because we were talking about community today, to finish off, we'd love for you to be part of our community here. So, yeah, I mean, we've said multiple times throughout the podcast to send us a comment on YouTube or send us a DM on Instagram. But yeah, make sure that you're following along on Instagram. Send us a message. We'd love to meet you because we don't just talk about community, we actually care about it. So yeah, we'd love for you to be part of our Brave Story community.
Love it. Okay, see you next time.
Bye.